I just walked through the door.
Well, what was funny was that you walked in looking like you had cocaine on your lip.
It was moisturizer. Yeah. Yeah. It's that I've started putting on moisturizer because I'm at that point in life.
It's like we live on Mars here.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
It is so... yeah, it's been extremely cold. Really unseasonably cold. Snow on the ground for almost a week.
Has it been that long?
Well, not quite, but 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
And just so dry. It's been unbelievable.
I have been an hour before we go before I go to bed. I have been turning on the space heater and the humidifier in the bedroom, so that those both run for an hour with the door closed. And then when I go in to go to bed, it's like I'm walking into a jungle.
Yeah,
and it's so nice. It keeps me hydrated.
I do like the how you scream "Welcome to the jungle" right before you go to bed every night. Yes.
Did you hear me do that?
Gosh, it's been
2 weeks since we recorded because we had part 2
due to some Hollywood magic by Adrienne.
Oh yeah.
We haven't done one of these in 2 weeks, and it feels
like a long time. Like
feels like we haven't done it forever.
We haven't seen you in so long. We have so much to talk about.
So much to talk about.
First, before we get into anything, if Bob or Judy are listening, Bob, tell Judy, Embassy London is having a sale on their shoes right now, like the biggest sale I've ever seen. So there are Embassy London shoes on sale right now for $80 and $90.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I have a couple in my shopping bag on my computer right now. How many shoes do you need from the same company? But they're so cool.
All right, well, let's have a conversation about that.
EmbassyLondon.com. So this podcast is sponsored by Performance High Voice and Music Studio and Embassy London Shoes.
And I'll throw in my sponsor, Prost Brewing, here in Denver. Really been enjoying what they're doing lately. This fall, winter, the German beer has been... That is a Vienna lager, which is basically like a Marzen.
Tell us about the difference between a Marzen and a fall German beer.
So Marzen, way back in 1500 or whatever, you couldn't brew beer past like April. But famously, the Germans have a big festival called Oktoberfest. So, because if you brew beer in the summer, it's dangerous because it's hot and it's more likely to go bad. So, like, legally, you had to stop. So they would make beer for October in March, which is why it was called Marzen, which means March. And they would make it a little stronger, a little hoppier, a little drier, less sugar, so less likely to go bad. And it's slightly higher alcohol content. It's not especially high. It's just like 5.5% rather than 5.
I'm drinking that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's good.
Prost does it right. They import the ingredients from Germany.
No way.
They use like literally German grains.
Do you know where in the U.S. they brew it?
Here in Denver.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're at, they have one place at I-25 and 20th Avenue. And they have a couple locations. But yeah, they're at Denver. But they literally ship wheat and stuff from Germany, and they do it in the old-fashioned style. The Vienna lager is apparently like extremely rare now. Like pretty much nobody does it in the original recipe, even in Vienna. But they still...
I am really enjoying that beer.
It's you're welcome to it.
We might have to get another one before this podcast is over.
Might have to take a quick break. So, sorry for the beer history, but we had to get the sponsors out of the way because, they keep the lights on around here.
Oh, yeah. Except for those two, which went out.
Yeah, except for those two. I mean, of course, we're joking. We're not sure that they even know that they're sponsors. I'm sure that they don't.
They will never know.
They will never know that they're sponsors. Gosh, so let's start kind of maybe chronological.
Okay, yeah.
So we had our great two-parter with Julian, and then that took up last weekend because we took a tiny vacation.
Yes, we did. An overnighter into the mountains. We went to Hot Sulphur Springs, which is a town with Hot Sulphur Springs.
Right.
They have like 14 or 16 different springs in this one place that you can go in a little motel type.
Yeah, it's like an old-fashioned...
It's an old-fashioned, like, roadside motel.
Roadside motel.
Part of the springs.
But they have up the hillside, and as you go up the hillside, because I guess the spring water, hot, water coming out of the ground, then flows down the hill. And so higher up, the pools are hotter, lower, they're cooler. So you kind of work your way up, and we love hot springs. It's just a fun...
It's just like, it's like... sitting and having a drink with somebody, it's just a situation where you're going to just talk about stuff.
Yeah,
so it's relaxing, it's outdoors. You got this like temperature difference, and so it's like, you're cold on your exposed skin and hot, and it just kind of feels good.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting and just like talking about stuff. I mean, we talked about a major change in your life, actually.
We did. We talked a lot about that. I now have an assistant who was already a Performance High. Kristen, she merged her studio with yours 6 months ago.
Not that long. Officially like September.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kristen's been handling a lot of Performance High's business, and we had our first meeting this morning, first official weekly meeting. So Kristen's going to be handling all of my booking, because I was just finding that I was spending so much of my time on the back and forth on booking, and then I don't do a good job, and I occasionally double book myself or
here she comes. Come on.
Yep, you can do it. It's a weird ankle jump. Anyway, we'll get her up.
Come on. No.
Nope,
Okay.
Nope.
I mean, you are happiest when you are just head down in your work all day.
That is what I would like to do.
I mean, you come home and you're like, I mixed for 8 hours straight today. It's like, okay. Sounds pretty tiring to me. I didn't even take a lunch break. Like, you love when you work at Global Sound, which is another thing that you did. Yeah,
just yesterday. I was at Global.
Which is like, you prefer not to take a lunch break. Just straight on through.
I want to...
And every time you get a text that you have to respond to, or a phone call that you have to respond to, it doesn't take just, 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's like, okay, all the concentration is broken. If you have to make a phone call, the little chit chat of the daily stuff, and then, okay, let's schedule this, let's schedule that. And then it's like 20 minutes to get your head back into a project.
And sometimes it really is, because sometimes when you're doing complicated editing and stuff, like, it really takes a while to figure out again what you were like. I was moving this piece here and this piece here.
Yeah, and you have like so many plates in the air.
I've got 10 layers of moves that I know I'm going to put them together, and then if I get out of it, it takes forever to get back into it.
It's like programming, or any creative endeavor,
right?
Where it's a mental space where once you're in it, if you are taken out, it costs a lot of time, and you lose work. You can't even lose work.
You really don't. You don't get all the way back.
Yeah.
And, programming is probably what it's most like in some ways. Anyway, Kristen's going to be handling that and handling communications and booking. And I'm really excited about that because, as you were saying, my favorite thing is to just, buckle in and do the work. And if someone will just shovel me work, that would be great. So
yeah, I'm excited.
And Kristen, really talented musician and also a really gifted admin assistant person. So she's one of those really honored to be.
One of those interesting brains who can both be very creative and very emotional and very intuitive. And she also can handle spreadsheets this big.
Right.
And loves to.
Right.
She loves the Tetris game of like, ooh, I got a call, I got to handle it. Ooh, I got a task, I got to handle it. Ooh, I got somebody to schedule. Boop, boop, goes in there. Psh, psh, like, and I share, like, I know what she's talking about. Like, I kind of have that part of me too. So Kristen and I are like, kind of like two peas in a pod.
I know. Yeah, so and a lot of that came out of, I mean, it happened really quickly because we already had a relationship with Kristen, but a lot of that came out of, we were in hot tubs for 3 hours and we were just talking.
Talking about, like, what do you want next year to look like? What?
Yeah, just kind of.
How do you want to grow?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this challenge before.
Oh, I've been complaining about it forever. Like, that's my, running joke.
I was being nice. We've talked about it before. Rather than saying, we've gone around and around on this subject.
How many times have I, come home and have been like, I'm just going to go work at a grocery store.
I know.
I can't deal with this. I'm just going to go work at a grocery store.
Too many.
Yeah. So hopefully that's, maybe I will work at a grocery store. But, at least for now, Kristen's going to be taking the frustrating stuff off my plate and doing it better than I ever could. So that's...
it's going to be great for your clients.
I think it's going to be really great for the clients.
I mean, she's not just, handling phone calls. She's actually going to help you organize your time.
And that's a big thing.
And prioritize projects.
Right.
Fit them into your schedule.
Yeah. Any nerves I have are related to, I don't want anybody feeling like they're getting less of my involvement or less of my investment in their whatever, but I think it's going to shake out to be such a better thing for everybody that in
a sense they're going to get more of your attention in the form of your mind on their work.
Right exactly. So that was that came out of our little vacation.
Yes yeah. Okay, so
we
that was last weekend.
Last weekend we went on a vacation and we should shout out our fourth sponsor, Dean Public House.
Yes, which doesn't know
in Hot Sulphur Springs. They'll never know. The coolest little, Hot Sulphur Springs is, a couple hundred people.
I think the population is officially 760.
700 maybe, yeah. Really tiny town. And this place is a little bed and breakfast and restaurant and bar that was located in, Mom, I have to send you pictures. I forgot to do that. It's located in what was a hotel from 1850 or something.
It's really cute.
And it's the big, old-fashioned... What's interesting about Hot Sulphur Springs is it still has a lot of that, when you see Western movies, and they have those crazy buildings, and, there's the big front part where the big flat front part that goes up. Basically, all these other mountain towns over the years updated their old buildings, but Hot Sulphur Springs being so tiny... it still has these old buildings that are that's literally an 1850, 1870 building. Anyway, lovely restaurant located in this really cool, farmhouse style hotel. And we just had the best meal.
I had elk tacos.
Yeah.
So good.
They had
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Just unbelievably great.
Yeah.
And we had a great talk with the owner, John. Who was telling us how he'd been in the restaurant industry since he was, I think, 14, he was saying, is when he first got a job washing dishes, and now he's owned restaurants for a long time. And, we just highly recommend if you're going that way, if you're going out to Steamboat Springs, and it's between Thursday and Sunday, stop off at Dean Public House. How was the cocktail?
That one was less remarkable than the salad and the tacos. It was good, but I don't...
Oh, the salad was amazing. I could carry... I don't like salad, and that salad was really good.
It was a mango salad, but it was it had this spicy dressing.
Yeah.
And I love stuff that's spicy that you don't expect to be spicy, like spicy cocktails.
Right.
This was a spicy salad.
Yeah.
So good.
It was really good.
But John, the GM, is a music fan, and he hires bands, and he's putting together a music festival next summer. I got his card. We are trying to get in touch with each other for some bookings. I'm trying to funnel a couple of artists his way.
Yeah,
we might try to go and play there.
Yeah, I may do a thing. Thank you, by the way, for putting that little vacation together. That was so great to get to, spend some time. Gosh, what did we do after that? So we came back.
Well, we had the showcase rehearsal.
Right. That was
next weekend.
Yeah.
So Nate Marsh is our bassist now, and he did the charts for the showcase, which I normally do, and it was so nice to have that off my plate. Oh my gosh. And I had never thought before about the inefficiency of me making the charts when I wasn't in the band.
You weren't one of the players, yeah.
I mean, it's good for me to be familiar with everything because somebody needs to be the musical director and, know if things are going wrong. But I just didn't think about the fact that it shouldn't be someone who's not in the band.
Right.
I've been duplicating that work all this time. So that's Nate's new job.
It's good in that you're very detail oriented and your charts are pretty guaranteed to be airtight. There's not going to be, typo type mistakes in them. So that, anyway, I thought...
There's no typo type mistakes, but there are music theory type mistakes in them, right?
Well, everybody makes those. But, everyone else makes those. Anyway,
rehearsal went really well.
It went unbelievable. And we had, this was not the hardest showcase we've done. I mean, it's only 35 songs or 30, whatever.
I think it's 31.
31, something. And, but just a handful of them are challenging.
We let a few of the harder ones through this time. We let a few
squeak, yeah. But it just went perfectly smoothly. Even the ones where even the guys in the band, we were like texting the night before, like, oh man, this one, we'll see how it goes. And it just went great. And Nate, again, friend of the pod, as they say. He was a guest on man, just such a great energy and he was kind of stepping up in musical directing a little bit, and kind of, but he's got such a great, calm hand at doing that.
And what I love about all these guys in the band is not only that they all come prepared, but they come and make the students /singers/ clients feel so comfortable. Like, they are all educators in some sense. Well, Brian's not a teacher, but he's a super chill dude. But Nate teaches bass, Ryan teaches drums, you teach guitar. So everyone, is just so generous with their attitudes toward everyone.
Right.
Like, helping put people at ease. I mean, the first 7 people who walked through the door were like, I'm so nervous.
Dying of nerves.
Because they were all new. Like, it was. We have a lot of first timers this time. And they were all walking in like, I'm sorry, I'm just like so nervous.
First timers in the sense that they've never played with a live band before.
Right.
Not just first timers like they haven't done a showcase, but first timers like, I've never sung with a band before. And a lot of them were just dying of nerves.
I know.
And yeah, you're right. The guys make it, it's just so welcoming. And it's not disingenuous. I mean, you don't get to where we are with things, which is not some big whoop or anything, but like, you don't get to where we are with things without having also been a starter and also been someone nervous and also someone who had to go on stage for the first time. We all get it. And it's just like, there isn't any reason, to be stressed out. This is rehearsal.
Yeah. You
got to do it for the first time sometime.
We're here to make mistakes and iron them out and figure out
that's what it is. Yeah. And it went great. I mean, really just everything, gosh, make it better. And I can't remember the artist names, but Michael...
Aaron Cam, I think?
Oh, yeah, right. It is.
Yeah.
A really complicated arrangement. And that band, on the second time through, was just sounding like...
So tight.
Tons of stops and all these, like, little accenty things and, like, little... And it was just drilled. I was like literally making mistakes because I was so impressed with how good everybody else was doing. I was just watching everybody else. I was like missing stuff because I was like, I can't believe they're pulling this off. So showcase rehearsal. Oh man, I had a gig with Eric. Speaking of before, so Thursday, it was Thursday that we got a really surprising winter storm. And I was booked to play with Eric Golden, doing the honky tonk country stuff down in Parker, and took me 2 whole hours to drive down there because
Should take 45 minutes.
Yeah, and the roads were just terrible, and everybody was going 10 miles an hour. And it was one of those things where, it's like you just can't, we've talked about it before, you just can't not show up for a gig. I mean, at some point it becomes so dangerous that you're like, well, but you've lived out here long enough and you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, it's slow going, but it's not dangerous. But yeah, 2 hours down there, and we set up really quick and started playing, and we did a set, and it was funny because Eric was like, and there was kind of not nobody there, but it was thin. Although I was telling you, like 8 or 10 people came to see Eric, which is on a night like that is something. Yeah. Because it was I don't know 4 or 6 inches. Like it really came down. Anyway, look who it is. Yeah.
Hi, cutie pie.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Podcat.
Yeah. She knows where the action is.
Yep. So anyway, we played for about an hour, and then we took a break, and the manager was like, "Hey, what do you guys think if maybe like you guys just?" And he was being super nice, and like and we're like dreading. Not that that's a late gig, but we were gonna play till 10:30, and then
with like nobody there,
and then who knows how bad the roads will be then, and everything. And so he was like, "Hey, what do you guys think about like maybe?" And we're like. And he was like, I really don't want to, like, take time away from you. And both Eric and I were like, we don't exactly need stage. So at this point, like, we are fine to call it and, like, have everybody get home safely.
He was worried about, like, taking away your stage time.
Yeah,
cutting
exactly.
your gig short. And you're like, yeah, we'd rather cut this gig short.
Yeah. He was like, maybe you could look at it as, like, you did get to play some. And we're like, and we're like, we're fine. Like
we've played enough in our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, with Eric playing 270 gigs this year.
He was laughing about that. It's not that's Eric to a T. You said 270 in something.
I think in a podcast or something.
Yeah. And he was like, it's really only like 230. And you're like, that's still he's such a humble, like even, he's like, it's not 270, it's like 237.
That's pretty close.
You might as well call it at that. Anyway.
Oh, so you had mentioned like sometimes it's too dangerous to drive. Have we talked on this podcast about the gig at the Isle Casino, the one time we had to all sleep in the same room?
I don't think, no. I don't think
because I tell the story. I feel like
Yeah.
I've told the story on the podcast. So it was
I haven't thought of that in a while. Yeah.
Back when we were in Urban Dance Theory, which was a top 40 cover band. That's where we met, actually.
That's where we met. We
met through Craigslist. Craigslist at least used to work.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
For starting bands.
Yeah. Not for starting relationships.
No. We
met because
I joined a band.
Our previous guitar player looked for our next guitar player on his own. Through Craigslist. Anyway, so you joined the band. So we had a gig at, I think it was Isle Casino, one of the casinos up in Black Hawk.
Yeah.
And it was a true blizzard. And at the time, the car that I was driving was a Toyota Tundra pickup, which is horrible for snow because the back wants to fishtail because there's no weight.
It's light.
I mean, we put some sand in the back. But, and I lived in Boulder at the time, so I could only drive up through Nederland.
Oh, they closed like all of the reasonable roads.
There was only one road that was even still open. And we still went up, and it was a 2-nighter, I think, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't
just
even.
A 1-nighter?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it took forever to get there. I drove by myself. I think you drove with Bill, the drummer.
Yeah, because my car...
Your car would never get there. It was a Toyota Corolla.
No way. Yeah.
And he had a Hummer.
Yeah, I'd been in Colorado 3 months or something.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we got up there. I think I arrived like 10 minutes before the gig started. I mean, it took forever to get there. And I
because you had to detour like 50 miles around because they had shut every other road.
Right. And the roads, all of the roads to Black Hawk are pretty windy.
Yeah, they sure are.
I mean, they're like 2-lane mountain roads with a drop-off on the side. So I got there. We did the gig. We we started driving we both got in our respective cars and started driving home and saw someone like slide through an intersection. Was that
what happened? Is you were gonna leave, and I said, well, I'll just go with you.
Oh, okay.
Because we didn't have hotel rooms.
Right. Because it was
Because normally you would just go home after the gig. It's like an hour away.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. And we pulled out of the hotel parking lot, and then there was an intersection about 100 yards away, and we saw someone try to stop at a red light and just slide right through. And it was like immediately like, okay, that's not happening.
Yeah, especially in my truck.
It was, I mean, just inches of ice was the road. It was just, and they just slid like no resistance whatsoever.
Yeah.
You saw the brake lights pumping. And so anyway, luckily.
Yeah, luckily we had a bass player that night who came in from Nebraska.
Jared.
Jared subbed for us sometimes. Great bass player. But so he and his wife
Unbelievable.
had gotten a room at the hotel because they were going to stay and not drive all the way back to Nebraska for afterwards. So we all stayed with them.
So it wound up being what?
All of 7 people. Well, plus them. No, wait. So Urban Dance Theory was bass, drums, keys, guitar, me, lead. I think that's all it was.
It's 5 of us.
And then I thought there were 7 people in that room. Well, anyway, 6. So there were 6 people in the room. I think somebody slept on a couple of chairs that were pushed together. Let's see. We got a cot, I think.
Yeah,
somebody slept
somebody
on
was
that.
on a cot. I was just on the floor.
Yeah, I slept in the bed with the bass player and his wife.
Yeah, it was
on the very edge. I was like as far to the edge of the mattress as I could get without falling off of it.
Yeah, because we're like, and they were so nice to let us do that because we were like, there's no way we can.
Yeah, there's nowhere to be.
There's nowhere to drive home. There's no way. You couldn't. The roads were closed. They probably closed that last road by the time we were done doing the gig.
Yeah.
And but the hotel was like, well, we're full.
Yeah.
So we crashed. Boy, that was and I remember it wasn't a 2-nighter because I do remember riding home.
Oh, okay.
The next day, and they had finally gotten stuff plowed out and stuff.
Woo! But we made the gig.
We made the gig.
gig.
And that is what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
You just, there's no not doing it.
Yeah.
If you want to ever get called again, you better figure out how to get there.
Yeah. There's nothing that's more damaging to a musician's reputation than not showing up or late canceling on stuff.
Yeah. You just
can't.
It's pretty much not an option.
Yeah.
We've talked about that. But yeah, it may not have been Isle. But one of those in Black Hawk.
With the circle in the middle.
Yeah, right. It had the circle in the middle.
No, that's not Isle. Is that...
It might be Ameristar.
Ameristar. Yeah. Oh, so this stage was crazy. It was a tiny circle. So all of us could barely fit on it. And there was this super steep staircase they would roll over to put so it was like a bar all the way around.
So the bar was like this big, huge circle, and in the middle, and then they had the bartenders and all the liquor, and in the middle of all that circle was this tiny, maybe 10 feet across stage.
It was so small.
I mean, we were just literally, Jared and I were just shoulder to shoulder, the whole night.
And those stairs, you had to carry your amp up these stairs and down and not lose your...
Well, and you couldn't get off the stage until they rolled the tiny staircase over to you. So,
and then you don't know where to look either because there's people on all sides of you.
Yeah, all sides. All just inattention coming at you from every direction.
Inattention?
Inattention.
Yes, exactly. Inattention. Because
those casino gigs, they do not... Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which is such a shame because Jared, oh my gosh, I literally remember how good he was on that gig that night. He was so, he came in to fill in and was just
He lives in Las Vegas now, so if you need a bassist in Las Vegas, Jared Schlager.
And he gigs constantly.
Yeah.
Great bass player. Miss him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a crazy
That was
gig
a
story.
Detour. So that was related to Eric's gig where you had to drive in the snow to Parker.
Yeah. And then that brings us kind of up to date because I did Global Sound yesterday, and what we have coming up, we're going to my cousin Jennifer's big birthday, 50th birthday thing in Atlanta. She's doing a big fun thing, so we'll be there.
I've never really spent any time in Atlanta, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we may not spend any time in Atlanta now either, so...
outside Atlanta?
Yeah, outside Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
They live in Roswell, which is like, yeah.
Well, that'll be new to me, too.
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
I'm sure it's gorgeous.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It totally is gorgeous. It's just, it's far from...
Oh, okay.
Like, it's far suburbs.
Okay.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's farms and horses, and yeah, it's really nice. So yeah, we'll be in Atlanta for that, and maybe we'll get a little remote podcast in because as soon as we get back, we've got rehearsals for Cody's Christmas shows that are coming up.
So we've got a bunch of new tunes for Cody's Christmas shows, one at the Nieces and one at the Oriental.
Right.
On the 11th and 22nd of December.
So we're back Monday, and we're diving right back into getting ready for those shows.
Oh, and for which, I mean, it's not confirmed yet that I will be singing this song, but I've been working on it in case I do.
Oh, that's right. You have been working.
Yeah. So one of the songs in these shows is The Prayer, which has been sung by many people, but famously by Andrea Bocelli and Celine Dion. And so we're going to do it as a duet, and it's not opera. Cody called it popra. It's like crossover classical. But it's not a style that I sing much at all or ever have much at all. I mean, I've taken some classical lessons. I've worked on a few classical pieces, but that's not where I live. And so I started working on it, and then I had a lesson with performance high teacher Kristen Henry from, I've known her forever. She's been working for me. She's the first employee of Performance High, actually.
Yeah.
And she really helped me figure out some stuff. And the thing that was the most effective was imagining a unicorn horn on my head. Like, I need to send my sound out this way in a much lighter and freer way than I do with pop and Stevie Nicks stuff. Some different placement, like we were using antennas too, like this A needs to go here and this E needs to go here or whatever, depending on the vowel and the pitch. Fine-tuning stuff. Oh my gosh.
And that's all about ultimately changing the shape in the back of your mouth, and then also directing your
whole mouth.
And your whole mouth. Yeah, the shape of your mouth. So forming the note and the sound there.
Yeah, it's changing.
And then probably also forming, how much is going through the...
Yeah, it's hard to even describe what exactly you're moving and changing to make this stuff happen because it's so subtle. I mean, it is all just the vocal tract, from where the sound gets created all the way up to where the sound's coming out of your face. But it's there. If you try to think about like lift your soft palate or change your tongue or open your mouth, those are such gross adjustments that they overdo everything. Like, using this sense of like, oh, let's go from just slightly forward of center to slightly more forward of center.
Yeah, because then...
I mean, these changes are so subtle.
Yeah.
That I don't know what's changing inside my mouth at all.
And it probably is changing millimeters or centimeters, but it's forming those notes differently.
Or less than,
Yeah. Well, I was saying you were working on one little chromatic thing where you were just going between three notes that were right next to each other. And to me, I was really blown away at how even those notes were. Like the tone, the pitch was changing, but the tone was not changing at all. Mm-hmm. Which at that part of anybody's range was just like, wow, that's cool that one note has the exact same low end and high end and that the other note does. Yeah, it's amazing how complicated the voice is.
It is. It really is.
It's wild.
I think singing and singers get underrated sometimes, especially in the popular music world. And singing teachers can be underrated sometimes because people don't realize what goes into it. Like, that it's not just, just stand up straight. Just open your mouth more. Relax this, relax that, and then go for it. It's not anything close to that simple.
Shouldn't be.
And you can't see the instrument you're working on.
Yeah, there's that.
And everybody's instrument is different.
Right.
Right. So.
Well, and I've noticed it often because I don't know if I've said anything on the podcast, but I've said to you, like, very often the difference to me recording people between moving a mic up or down just a little bit can, like, change the not the tone, but it can change really what you're hearing of the voice just so much, because of it really makes you realize how much is coming out of here and how much is coming literally from down here. Maybe not literally, but you know. And that happened the other day where it's just like it was really not getting a clear, fun rock vocal sound out of the singer I was recording yesterday. And just moving that mic, just tweaking it up a little bit. And it was like, oh, there, that cleared it up. Like, you know, like, yeah, the voice is just a complicated thing. Yeah. Maybe especially because human ears are tuned to nothing better than to pay attention to other people's voices. Yeah. You know, we just have amazing ears for that. You know, so it's a heck of a thing. Anyway, we covered our sponsors and we,
I think we caught up on the last couple
weeks. And yeah, that's the podcast. And if you're still listening, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Really sorry.
I think it's time for another beer.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
All right, see you next week.
Bye.